Nation. It is Tuesday, July 1st, 2nd, Marty. Canada Day's in the past, and July 4th is around the corner, coming up in a couple days. Good to see you here this morning, my friend.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm excellent. We got Jonathan Whipple in the green room today, Nation. We are talking about storytelling. Yeah, storytelling and leadership today, Marty. Storytelling and leadership, and then how you use your Aura ring to get your day started. Our guest, Jonathan Whipple, joining us from middle of the night in sunny Los Angeles. I reached out to him last week. I said, "Hey, Jonathan, do you get up in the morning early, or do you start your day late?" He's like, "No, I get up early in the morning. I wear my Aura ring." He says to me, "Marty," he says, "when I get up, if it tells me to go back to sleep, I do." Dude, that's pretty committed, eh?
Yeah, my Aura ring will be telling me to go back to sleep all the time. Ain't no way I get enough sleep.
Of course, we got Enzo joining us here from the future. And Enzo, we welcome you.
What's up, Zoe? Call him Zoe for short.
Welcome you into the lab this morning, my friend. Good to see you. Yes. Oh, storytelling. Yes, Enzo. We do not want you to fall asleep tonight, my friend. We have you have one thing over Marty. Yes, Keith. One thing over Marty in soccer. Canada is in the knockouts versus Copa America, while USA got knocked out group stage. Marty.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a soccer guy, so I didn't even know what was. You're giving me new info. You know? Yeah.
And then how are we doing today? We're doing pretty well, Enzo. We're doing exceptionally well. Thank you very much. We're going to get to storytelling today. Rise and shine. How sleep is the ultimate morning routine for a healthy and fit life. We're going to bring in our guest Jonathan Whipple in a few moments, and of course,
sleep's for the dead, though.
Oh, are we talking Joe Biden again? Oh, Keith and Marty are making sound bites left and right this morning. We were talking yesterday about death and the presidential debate.
And at least he's still around. At least he can still debate. That's all that matters.
I just have to keep hitting the sound effects.
He's not a criminal.
Oh my God! So,
all right, that's enough.
That's enough. No, we promise not to bring politics onto the show. Although
I'm done for the day. I'm done.
Although I'm going to tell Business Athlete Nation and Jonathan Whipple that you're all tuning in. You guys are. That's it. The show's off the rails. We're done. We are done. If you're just getting up and started this morning, there's your snooze. There's Marty's gong bell. We are listen, I just want to take a quick second before you welcome Whipple into the room here. You guys are showing up, man. You guys are absolutely showing up. I'm watching the stats here over the last week or so, and our numbers are green. Enzo, we are growing, man. You guys are showing up every single day. Our YouTube numbers are up. Our LinkedIn numbers are up. Our viewers are up. Our shorts are up. Our live videos are up. Everything is up. And on behalf of C. Marty and myself, I'm very grateful and I want to thank you. So, when we go throughout our day and we look at the stats and we see them going up, it makes us work harder to show up again for you guys tomorrow. So, big thank you to everybody for supporting Keith and Marty here in the lab as we rock and roll here. So coming up again, today's accountability check-in. We're going to move the creator spotlight up a little bit earlier in the show. And then, of course, we get to see Marty fit tip of the day, the important one, right? So not only is accountability going to get you going, but see Marty fit tip is going to be the one that is going to absolutely give you something to consider, helping you on the fitness side of things. So, Marty, without further ado, I think it is time for us to bring in our special guest, Mr. Jonathan Whipple.
Hey, y'all. Good morning.
There he is. Yeah, we just like to bring the sound effects here into the lab, Mr. Whipple. How are you, pal? You're joining us from Los Angeles today, I believe, and it is in the middle of the night.
It's the very early morning. Very, very early.
Very, very, very. I love the green, man. I love the green backdrop. Is that like paint or is that like a virtual green screen or what?
That is paint. That's courtesy of my wife.
Very
He's in
talented.
the green room, literally.
That is
Yeah.
literally the green room. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I painted it. I asked her if she could paint it last night. So it's still wet. I got the fumes.
Jonathan, hey, why don't you say hello to our friend Enzo in the future? Jonathan, so listen, my friend, you're so far back in the past. If you are looking to make some big decisions today,
Yeah.
you have an hour here today with us. Enzo can help you out because Enzo is located in the future. Enzo's so far into New Zealand where if you want some lottery numbers today, or if you're kind of looking what's happening with the weather or the news, just ask the future and he'll tell you.
Oh, Enzo, let's start with the lottery numbers.
Yeah. So Enzo, if you can throw some lottery numbers up today, that'd be great. It would help our guests, especially Jonathan. He's joining us from Los Angeles. He's very much in the past. I think he's actually in last week still. So I would encourage, would love to have that from you, Enzo, as well. So Jonathan, let's get into it, man. You're joining us from LA. Who is Jonathan Whipple, and what got you out of bed to come hang out with Marty and Keith today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess first and foremost, I'm a dad. I'm a husband.
Yeah.
I'm a guy who creates a lot of content on LinkedIn that supports my day-to-day job of recruiting. So I am a tech recruiter. I am focused on a specific technology called SAP, which is an enterprise resource programming program. So yeah, it's super super niche, you would think, but
Yeah.
every huge company uses it, essentially. 99 of the top 100 companies need this to basically be the brains of their entire organization. So that's what I focus on. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I post a bunch about recruiting, specifically human-centric recruiting.
Yeah.
So I am all about the human touch, connecting with people. That's me. That's me. Man.
I gotta be honest with you, Jonathan. Marty, when I saw Jonathan posting about SAP on LinkedIn, I'm familiar with SAP and everything, and I've never found somebody in my entire life, Jonathan Whipple, who's made SAP somewhat interesting.
I am flattered. I am flattered, and you're not the first person to tell me that. It can be stale, man. It really can be stale, but it's an exciting thing. It's this huge invisible giant. Like
Yes.
it's responsible for trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of commerce. It's massive, and nobody knows what it is. It's wild to me.
It's so true, isn't it? It's like, I'm ancient growing up with cassettes and, it was BASF, maybe Jonathan, you're from the BASF, right? But it was like the technology that made the cassette, yet nobody really knew what BASF was, right? It's like SAP. SAP is the underpinnings of major corporations around the world. And nobody knows anything about it unless they follow and stumble upon Jonathan Whipple on LinkedIn.
That's what I'm here to do.
So, Jonathan, what drew me to you and what I was telling Marty about you is that you have a love of storytelling and you have experience in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. And then you also created a story last week, which drew my attention to you around the storytelling angle. That you talked about your brother and the Gary Sinise story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So give us a couple of minutes. Introduce yourself to me and Marty about your love of storytelling and your experience in the entertainment industry and how we made our way to the Gary Sinise story.
Yeah, absolutely. So storytelling is something I'm passionate about. Initially, that's what brought me to Los Angeles. I wanted to write movies. I wanted to write television. Had some fun opportunities to do that. Things that were purchased but never made, which is one of those like heart-wrenching things. Like, oh, hey, yeah, I did that, but I didn't. That said, I made a pivot into reality television, and so my focus there was on casting, finding the right people for the right role, so you can see the parallels in my journey as a recruiter as well. Still the same thing. So I did that for a decade, finding casts for, gosh, I mean. Any number of things. I got people to get married at first sight. I got people to jump into giant competitions where they're building stuff with Lego. I got people to go head to head with grizzly bears, and I'm not joking. In athletic competition, I found hosts. I found everyday people. Helped people who were former or current professional wrestlers or pop stars or actors transform into this hosting area. Help people achieve their dreams and be on television and transform their business with help from billionaires. So it was a really, really rewarding journey. It's something that I loved. And then one day I had a friend show me generative AI
Oh,
early, very, very early. And I was like, hey, this is the future. And I was like, oh man, do you think we'll be streaming and creating our own television shows using this? And they're like, there's no doubt in my mind. So I started packing my bags and looking to see what else was out there, and recruiting, made a lot of sense for me. Now, the Gary Sinise story, for me, I try to tell a story or two every week on
Yeah.
social media.
yeah.
And the Sinise one just came up. I was actually watching Forrest Gump with my wife, and it just kind of brought me back, made me think about this Gary Sinise story with my little brother.
Wow. So I want to go back to, let's put the Gary Sinise story aside for a second, Jonathan.
How dare you put Gary in a corner?
You're producing TV shows and you see generative AI.
Yeah.
And the moment you saw that was your pivot to, I got to get the hell out of this? Like, actually?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I saw a couple different things. So early kind of image generation, super, super rudimentary video generation. I mean, it didn't look like anything. To say it looked like claymation would be kind of an overstatement. But there was also this technology that a friend demoed for me where they were replacing old advertisement, like product placement, inside of Seinfeld is what they were using for the demo. So I think Kramer had, I don't remember if it was like a Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke, and they replaced it with a pamplemousse LaCroix, however you say it, LaCroix.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, how do they do this? Like, I mean, how many people had to come in and change things around and like replace this? And they're like, no, it's in real time. Like you can click this and then we could change it to another asset. So it was like, oh man, this is mind blowing. The ease of making this minor tweak. And then when you extrapolate it and look at image generation, video generation, and I guess all that's left is to solve the compute issues at this point, because things are, we're there now. We're there now.
Yes.
People are closing down productions. People are closing down studios. It's I guess Tyler Perry was like the biggest one. Like, hey, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars in the game. I need to rethink this because, this is possible today.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to come back for a second conversation on that.
Yep.
Marty here with Jonathan Whipple here this morning in the lab. Hey, Marty, let's Jimmy, let's throw the cameras back up on the three of us. Marty, let's quickly jump into yesterday's poll results. One of the features on the show here, I'm really trying to draw more attention to, Nation, is just this, the polls we're throwing up every single day. Marty, we had a conversation yesterday on leadership, as you know, and the poll we threw up yesterday was, and Jonathan, what do you think is the most important attribute of a great leader? And we threw 4 choices up: communication, empathy, vision, and adaptability. What do you guys think was the number one choice out of those 4? Jonathan Whipple, what do you think?
I hope it was empathy. But my guess, my hunch is empathy or communication.
Yeah, Marty.
Yeah, I think empathy too.
It was interesting. Amongst all the votes, it was actually evenly split, right? So, if anything, that actually pleases me, because people are considering empathy higher than maybe I thought maybe people would. Like, I'm thinking that people are going, it's got to be vision, it's got to be communication, but no, there's this humanness in the people's responses that no, actually, empathy is more important. Because Jonathan, I'm suspecting, well, you're probably a number of years younger than I am, but I grew up with leadership where empathy wasn't even part of the equation.
Yeah, that's accurate. It's not even a part of it for most of my life.
Yes. So the fact that it's actually part of the equation and part of yesterday's polls is encouraging to me, Marty, because it says to us there's a generation of folks that are really considering that empathy is an important part of the conversation, and that we as humans want that from our leaders. So that's encouraging to me that, yesterday's poll suggests to us that, folks are looking for empathy. So if you're a leader, Jonathan, Marty, if you're a leader, pull that empathy tool out of the pocket and use it, because your team wants it. Yeah, they want your vision. Yeah, they want you to be a great communicator, but ultimately they're really looking for empathy from you, because that's what our poll is telling us here. So that's great. I was really, really pleased with that response. And then today we're talking again to continue our conversation around leadership and storytelling. Here's the poll for today. Marty, Jonathan, do you think storytelling has a place in leadership? Is it an essential tool? Is it sometimes useful? Is it rarely needed? Or is there no place at all in leadership? Marty, what's your POV on that?
It's essential, in my opinion. If you're a leader, like, we kind of talked about this yesterday, you kind of want to be someone who has been through what you're teaching. So whoever your players are, or whoever your staff is, you kind of want to have gone through what they're currently going through, because it's going to be hard to respect a leader who hasn't walked in your shoes.
Yes.
Like why should I listen to you? So
yes,
I think it is essential.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Jonathan, what do you think?
I'd echo that. I think it's demonstrative. Like you're able to show your experience, just as Marty said. I think it's absolutely essential. I think it's absolutely essential to show where you've been and show where we need to go.
That's it. And Marty, our good buddy William joins us here from down in the States, or the Tech Dad YouTube channel. Jonathan, I think you know William from the LinkedIn feeds, but he comes in and says a good leader is actually a good counselor, and he's right. Right, a good leader listens, a good leader communicates, a good leader listens, provides empathy, asks lots of questions, and provides that guidance that one needs. So, William, great to see you here in the lab this morning. I'm glad you checked in with us this morning, just shortly after 8 o'clock Eastern. I know we've been talking with William along the way here, and as he's working himself through getting jobs and building his business and so forth. And if you're looking for a great YouTube channel, you got to check out the Tech Dad. He's over up there on YouTube. But hey, Marty, it is that time. Boom. Yep. Jonathan, it's this point of the show where we dance. Yeah, we're like the old dads. Just throw our arms up and dance a little bit. Jimmy, it's that time where we're going to pull this guy off, that guy off, and leave me up there. We're going to get into the accountability check-in. And today we're talking about storytelling, but most importantly, nation, if your team doesn't get your vision, it's on you. Oh, yeah. Clear communication as a leader is key. Without it, your vision, it just stays simply a dream. So you got to support your team. You got to empower them to see what you see. Bringing your vision to life, it's not a lone wolf journey. Even as an entrepreneur or solopreneur, it's a collective mission. It's bringing everybody around you, sharing that vision, communicating it, and going. Make your team part of the story. Celebrate the hell out of those wins. Discuss the losses. Because when your team wins, you win. You notice that I didn't say when you win, your team wins? Nah, flip the script. When your team wins, you win. That's how you get your vision out to your team. That's on you. So clear communication is a key. Without it, your vision stays a dream. Support it. Tell stories. Bring your team together. It's a collective mission. Today's accountability check-in. All right, Jimmy, we're pivoting. We're pivoting our dialogue over to... Yes. We're pivoting our dialogue back over to Jonathan Whipple. Yeah, Jimmy, we're pulling the old videos off together here. So let's get into our big conversation here today, guys. Marty, Jonathan, the leadership superpower. So, gentlemen, picture this. Jonathan, I'm looking at you, my friend. You're in a room full of people. Everyone's glued to your word. You're out there producing shows, out there in front of everybody. You're not just delivering that information, Marty. You're telling a story. It moves, it inspires, it drives action. That's the magic of storytelling and leadership. So today we're going to explore the power of this superpower to lead more effectively, make a lasting impact. We're going to talk about storytelling as a tool for change. And if you think about it, guys, examples of historical leaders, and you both talked about this a few moments ago, who use storytelling to inspire action and change. You have to look no further than to history, to Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. You have to look no further to the past to Nelson Mandela's storytelling to foster reconciliation in post-apartheid South Africa. Storytelling helps leaders articulate a compelling vision for the future. When you are a great storyteller, it aligns team members with organizational goals. It builds trust with storytelling. Let's get into some of the back and forth. Jonathan, let's start with you. Why do you think stories are such a powerful way of sharing a vision or message? And from somebody who's coming from television, television tells stories for a living. Why do you think, Jonathan, and why do you choose to tell stories once, twice a week on LinkedIn to share your vision and message? Let's get into it in today's feature conversation today. Jonathan.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's hard coded in our DNA. Like we go back hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of years or millions of years. We're sitting around a campfire. At the end of the day, what's going to come up? A story's going to come up. So stories are the way that we've transferred knowledge throughout time. Telling a story and working on that craft and making sure that you're able to showcase or highlight lessons, stories of the day, pass on virtues. So I think it's one of those things that is just hard coded in us, and it's essential to the fabric of being a human. So that's really, I think, why I choose to embrace it.
Yeah. Hey, Marty, do you find storytelling useful in motivating your clients on their fitness journeys? And I know you and I have spoken about how you've related to coaches in the past and leaders in the past on their stories. How do you use storytelling to motivate your clients and their fitness journeys and their life journeys?
Yeah, I absolutely use it. And if you really think about it, it's kind of like history repeats itself. So, with my clients, it's like, you're not the first person to deal with this issue or run into this obstacle, right? I've trained moms before. I can even show them moms, or I might have a mom in there to talk to them, or a dad in there to talk to them. Someone in the tech space, someone in finance. So, it's kind of like it's crazy how lessons even from like the Bible still apply to today. Or if you look at like American history, some of the lessons and some of the stuff that the leaders did, it still applies today. So yeah, I absolutely use storytelling with fitness because it's the formula's simple. The formula that works for this woman is going to work for you too. So.
So interesting. What you're saying is that you both are essentially saying is that we're using the history of stories to help people present themselves for the future. Like you said,
Exactly.
Marty, I've worked with the mother yesterday that had the same problems as you. So I'm going to work with you the same way I've worked with her, share some of her experiences to help you move forward. So it's
Exactly.
essentially what you're saying, right? So we got Enzo popping in with, people say the past is the past. The past is also history. The stories you can apply to motivate people from the past is at a great magnitude. He's so right, right? And I got to tell you, man, Enzo's well beyond his years with where he's thinking. And he also comes in and says that, to be fair, Sleepy Joe's not a good storytelling. Waffle Conference is quite unique. Yes. And then being a leader, Enzo pops in, but you don't have to be the smartest in the room or the loudest. You have to have the right mindset and morals. You were talking storytelling with Jonathan Whipple here this morning. Guys, and Jonathan, looking at you, working at SAP in the corporate world, when you go to work and you recruit and you work with people every single day, the impact of storytelling on organizational culture. How do you think storytelling helps in shaping and communicating the organization's values and cultures?
That's a great question, and I think it's essential. You need a shared mission, you need shared values, you need shared purpose. So storytelling is a way to demonstrate each of those areas and make sure folks are aligned.
Mm-hmm.
As a recruiter, I'm working with a variety of end clients every day. So I have to tell the story, not only of the organization, but I have to tell the story of the transformation. Here's the business problem that you're going to solve. Here's what we want to bring you in to do. Here's why you, as a candidate, are the ideal person to do that. And then again, it's taking that back to the client or taking the candidate story back to the client and painting why this person, the mission that they've been on throughout their career, why this is the person to solve your problem. Like the story is the thing that ties it all together.
Yeah, yeah. Marty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jonathan, you're kind of like a coach essentially. You know, with what you did with reality television, putting a vision together, getting the right people, and now as a recruiter, you putting people in the right places and coaching them up to tell them, how they can be effective in the company. So how do you see yourself as a coach? Um, that's how I look at you from what I've heard.
I, I'm Greg Popovich. Like I'm
I
just
love it.
younger. I'm a
Yep,
young
I
Greg
love it.
Popovich, longer hair than he's ever had, but I am that's how I see myself day to day. Or hockey folks, I'm a bit of a Scotty Bowman.
There you go.
I'm somewhere in there, somewhere in there. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
I like that a lot. Absolutely. Absolutely. So continuing with our organizational culture, I would also say that stories are a great way to bridge generations, right? So when you're leading an organization, and I gotta suspect, Jonathan, as you've been working through your career, it's a great way to make the 30-year-olds feel closer to the 50-year-olds, the 50-year-olds feel closer to 30-year-olds, and so forth, because we can tell stories. I'm often telling stories with Marty and different colleagues in my path, and I relate to the gray hairs on my face, or maybe the gray hairs on your head, Jonathan, because you're like, nah, these gray hairs are my stories that I want to share with you. And I think when you're able to be vulnerable and you share that with your audience, it brings people together, doesn't it?
That's the goal in telling a story. You're sharing a part of yourself. You're ripping your chest open and going, this is who I am. Like, the hope is that people relate to that, and they relate to a moment in their own life, and you've identified something that is cross generational, and you know I think absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And then we get into the psychological and emotional impact of storytelling. So not only do we, as leaders, use stories to bring people together, we use stories to refer to the past, to make ourselves more relatable. Stories also connect us, Marty, Jonathan, on a psychological and emotional side of things. It evokes emotions. It creates emotional connections. Jonathan, when you wrote the story about Gary Sinise, and I bring it up because it's I connected to it. I'm a Gary Sinise fan. I read it. I read it twice. You shared something that you hadn't shared before, and when you write those stories, Jonathan, do you find yourself creating a deeper connection with your audience that you might not expect when you first sit down to write them?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest benefit, and it's
Mm.
not initially why I started writing or sharing stories. So, you know, opening up and showing who you are is nice. It's a kind of face your fear thing, depending
Mhm.
on the type of individual you are. But for me, since I'm sharing about recruiting topics, or I'm sharing about SAP, or the hiring process, anything in that area, you don't get to know who I am. You can get an idea of, like,
Mhm.
my mindset professionally, or what I think in terms of philosophy when it comes to business, or how process should be run on that side of things. But I want you to know who I am. Like, let's go on this journey together. I wasn't on social media for a long time. I dialed out. I was like, okay, I'm a parent. This is this. I need to step away from this. Like, let me take a step back here. LinkedIn brought me back in, and I kind of felt this need of, how do I connect deeper? How do I show people who I am? And so what I've gotten back a lot is, I don't know, I guess, this different sense of someone
Interesting.
knowing me when we're having our initial conversation.
That's interesting. I find that quite fascinating, actually. Jonathan, as a recruiter,
Yeah.
Marty was talking about being a coach. Have you used storytelling to influence decision making with somebody you're trying to hire, whether it's influence them in a certain direction, but do you find yourself using stories to influence decisions of the people you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, I want to make sure I'm empowering somebody with as much information as possible. I'm not necessarily here to sway a decision, although there are certainly ways that I want things to go myself. But storytelling allows me to demonstrate somebody's abilities fully, or the importance of a role fully. Like, I can give you a lot more depth with a story, as opposed to just simply rattling off facts.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that, when we are leaders and, Marty, referring back to our humor of the conversation yesterday with the presidential election, and I know that my camera is still working itself out here, but Marty, we talked yesterday about the two candidates up for choice in the U.S. and one of the dark sides of storytelling and leadership, Jonathan and Marty, is emotional manipulation. Right? It's a potential for oversimplification. It's a potential for alternative facts. It's a potential for neglecting data and analysis. So, Jonathan, if you're a great storyteller and you get in front of your audience, there are some that would say, well, Jonathan, you got to be careful with your stories because you're maybe stretching some of the truths, you're creating some hyperbole, and you're leading your disciples in the wrong direction. So while we all believe storytelling is a powerful tool to move forward, I think we can see how it can also be used for the negative narratives. Jonathan, Marty, comment on that.
I guess it can be a dark art. It can
Yeah.
be. It can be a dark art. I won't. Oh gosh, I'm not going to comment on the debate or the the election. But it can be a dark art. I guess it's you can almost look at it as the Force. You've got, the light side and the dark side. How do you want to wield this? Don't take your audience for advantage, or don't take advantage of your audience. Tell them good stories, inspire them.
It's true the way, Jonathan and Marty, because if you're a great storyteller, and if you can get your audience to eat out of your hands by being a great storyteller, you're going to easily convince them to eat out of your hands with whatever story you want to tell them. So in a world of controlling narrative, Marty, I start telling you a story today on July 2nd, and then over time I start kind of changing the narrative along the way, and before you know it, I've got you hooked on whatever I want you hooked on.
Yeah, people do it all the time. Look at sales and look at I came up playing college basketball. I had coaches lie to me. They tell stories. They paint a picture for you about what it's going to be, and you get there, and it's not that.
And it's not there. And it's not there, right? It's not there.
Yep.
So I think what we want to bring home today, Nation, with our conversation with Jonathan Whipple and Christopher Martin, C. Marty Fit today, is just, storytelling is a powerful tool for leadership. As you're going through your day today, we're always liking to leave you guys with nuggets. Storytelling is a great tool to move your team forward. Storytelling is a great way to bring your team together. Storytelling is a great way to share experiences. But as we just discovered, storytelling is also a great way to create that emotional disconnect with your audience. It's a great way to take your audience in a direction where you might not even know you're being taken. And as Jonathan framed it out, I love it. The dark art of storytelling. So when you're listening to a story from your leader, or if you're telling a story to your audience, be careful with what you're sharing because you never know what somebody's hearing. So there's our conversation around storytelling today and using the power of storytelling to be a great leader here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith, C. Marty Fit, and Jonathan Whipple. Jimmy, let's get to this point in the show here where we're going to get into our creator spotlight. And it is now where we like to, and we've been somewhat, I'm not going to use the word neglecting Marty or Jonathan, but we're still figuring out our structure of the show here. It's this point in the show where we like to take somebody on the platform. And right now we're focusing on LinkedIn, and we're going to be stretching our wings into Instagram here very shortly. We like to take somebody on the platform. We like to take the big old business athlete performance lab light and shine it on that human. And Jimmy, I'm going to stay on the horizontal. I'm going to put you over onto the vertical. We are going to shine the light today on our friend in today's creator spotlight. We're going to shine it on this guy right here. We're going to do this. Trevor Van Woerden. ABM activation, ad infuse, live stream hotness, unleash your studios, nominated by Tara LaFawn Gooch. He is somebody who I did some looking at on LinkedIn. He is a live streamer. Does a lot of great stuff here. A few things I'd like to say. Creative Motion is taking over. Ask me about it. Your LinkedIn audience isn't interested in what you sell. They're interested in how you go about selling it. If everywhere you go smells like, it's time to look at your own shoe. The final decision often doesn't get made until after you made your final decision. Process equals goals. Go check out what Trevor Van Worden is doing. He's from Bellingham, Washington. I think, Marty, just up the road from you, unless we're talking about the state of
I think
Washington.
he's talking about this. I think that's the state.
Yeah, Bellingham, I guess, right? But
he's closer to Jonathan.
He's closer to Jonathan. Yeah, so he's still, in other words, he's still sleeping. So Jonathan is, we'll find Jonathan here on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to check him out there. He's the VP of Commercial Demand for North America at Infuse. He's all about live streaming and so forth. He's got a live stream starting on July 16th, the Hotness Unleasher show, promoted by Tara LaFon Gooch. He is our creator spotlight today in the lab. Trevor,
must be legit if Tara nominated him.
Tara's a beast. Tara's one of our goats of all time.
She's a goat. She's for sure a goat.
She's absolutely a goat. So, all right. So there's our creator spotlight. We are working our way through the show here this morning. And we're going to get into the next segment of the show here. And Marty, here is, when I said to you, Marty, last week, we're planning our guest for this week. And I've been talking with Whipple, over on LinkedIn for a little bit. And I said, hey, Jonathan, do you sleep in? Are you a late starter? He's like, no. Oh no, man. I get up, look at my ring. And then if it tells me to go back to sleep, I go back to sleep. So let's get into our next segment here of the show. How sleep is the ultimate morning routine for a healthy and fit life. Jonathan Whipple, I'm looking at you, man. I was intrigued by your comment when you're like, no, I get up early. But then you said to me, I use my Aura Ring for resilience and rest to tell me how to start my day. Let's dig into your morning routine and the importance of it. Jonathan Whipple.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess maybe I'll give you this is my Aura Ring here. It's wearable tech. Every morning, the first thing I do when I wake up is check to see what my scores are, and it reads out your sleep and your recovery score, and then resiliency is over time. If my recovery is under an 80, which I should pull it up right now and show you, it's an 80.
Oh.
If it was a 79 this morning, I would have gone back to sleep. I would have missed this show. I would have been like, I just didn't get enough. That's my baseline. I need at least a B- from my sleep and recovery to kick it off. So usually that's right in the 5 to 6 a.m. window. But last night I went to bed at like 8:30 to be prepared and wake up at 4 in the morning. So perfect. Just nailed the timing. So that's key for me.
How often do you get a sleep?
Pretty regularly. Yesterday was like a mid 90s, so that was a perfect. Despite the Sunday scaries, jumping into Monday with mid 90s sleep, it's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I frankly, I'll probably catch a nap before work. I'm probably after we wrap up here.
That's a good idea.
Knock that score up a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is interesting. That's really interesting to me. So I don't have an Aura Ring. I've looked at them and played, have talked with folks and friends have had them. But so are you very religious with that, Jonathan? When you wake up and you look, and if it's under 80, you do go back to sleep, eh?
Absolutely. The only two things that would make me get up before would be my wife or my son. If they were like, okay, I'm just wide awake, but I'm the first one up every day. So yeah, absolutely. If it's not there, and it's an interesting thing because you've got your sleep score and your rest score and the recovery score. The recovery score is really based on your heart rate variability, like your VO2 levels, kind of like really how you've rested and how your body has transformed and recovered overnight. So that's what I live by. Like if I need that recovery, I need it.
Yeah. Many people struggle with sleep. They struggle to get enough quality sleep due to various factors, Jonathan. Marty, stress, screen time. I'm a screen person. I love my screen time, but people, are inconsistent. Yeah, Marty too, inconsistent schedules. How do you ensure that you're waking up with your 80s or your 90s? Are you effectively working backwards every single day from tomorrow's schedule?
I think that's a really, really great question. So, I mean, I do a couple things kind of morning and night to make sure that I'm setting up. I first thing, so today is an exception to the rule, but right outside, get sunlight first thing, trying to make sure that I'm aligning my circadian rhythm, that like I've got sunlight in my body. I try to do the same thing at night, take a walk during a sunset, experience that kind of natural change of the day. But I do a lot of stuff. I mean, I meditate, I journal, I do things to unplug. I've got a stretching routine. I've got, the Therabody mask that massages and heats, and I plug it in and I listen to last night, I don't know, it was a bunch of facts about butterflies. And that's how I was unwinding last night. So I'm very, very focused on getting enough sleep. Very, very focused. Hell bent.
No kidding. Marty.
No, I like that. I like how you have a plan and a routine. And a lot of my clients struggle with going to bed at night. So they struggle getting up in the morning for their workouts. And I try to tell them, like, hey, you got to have a routine. You got to put the phone down. You got to have something that you do. And so definitely I respect that. What was I going to say? Dang, I lost my train of thought.
While you're thinking
about the recovery, So I asked you about the sleep. How often you get a sleep? How often you get a recovery, and what contributes to a recovery?
Yeah, so pretty regularly. So I'd say my average is kind of like 87 to 91 for recovery. What really contributes the most is I think making sure that I'm actually getting away from screens, and that's hard because I'm always like, all right, what am I? Does somebody comment? What do I need to reply to? What else do I got to post? Like what, who messaged me? All of those sort of things. But Aura's really great. They also have, stress levels. And so it'll let you know, like last night I was getting ready to go to bed and I was like, all right, I'll hop into bed. We put my son to bed. It's been a chill evening. And I'm looking at this thing and it's like, hey, you're still engaged. Like your stress levels are still engaged. You need to do something to unwind. So bust out this old Stretch to Win book that I've got. And I'm like, let me go through a stretching routine. Let me listen to some chill music. Let me calm myself down, throw on my mask, listen to butterfly talk and go to sleep. So I try to use this thing to be certain of where I'm at. Cause I was like, I'm relaxed. I'm ready to go to bed. But the ring, the app was like, you're not ready.
William Ray asked a great question here, which is, and I'm always curious about this as well. Does the score match pretty accurately with how you actually feel, Jonathan?
It does. I think actually today having an 80 is generous. I do feel a bit more tired than that. I'm looking at myself. I'm like replaying as a coach in my head. I was a little fumbly at the start of our conversation. I've been trying to warm up, get into it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, today is not an 80. That's why I will take a nap. But more often than not, especially yesterday, having like a 95. Yeah, it felt like a 95. I mean, like cartoon birds were singing. I'm just like whistling, walking down the street, high-fiving neighbors and stuff. Yeah, it was spot on.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yep. When you're wearing the device and the technology, in many ways, are you almost encouraged to hit snooze? Because it's like you wake up, you look at your app, or you look at or whatever you're looking at first thing, and you're like, oh, it's a 74. Good, I can hit snooze.
I think so. I think so. So I'm not an alarm clock guy myself. I wake up. I no alarm. Today again, exception. It's one of those benefits of having a toddler is that's my fail safe. If I'm not up, he's gonna wake up before work starts, right? But yeah, I think you are incentivized to hit snooze, and if that becomes your practice, you're incentivized to really set yourself up with the proper routine to sleep better.
Yeah.
Are you like a coffee guy? Do you do coffee or anything like that? Oh, yeah. I didn't even. Okay.
It's not just coffee. There's creatine in the coffee. I'm like going all the way in.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a big coffee guy.
Yeah,
a few cups a day.
Creatine helps the energy as well. I'm a creatine guy too.
Yeah.
And I notice when I'm not having my creatine.
Yeah. Same here. Yep.
Jonathan, it's clear you're a business athlete. You practice some very consistent habits. That's just in talking to you here in the last 10 minutes about your sleep habits, like you're very much weave technology into your life to ensure you're getting your rest, your heart rate variability is proper, your VO2 max is proper. Are you overly neurotic about that, Jonathan, where those stats are driving you day to day? You're like, hey, honey, hey, kid, I got to go to bed because my numbers are going to be off tomorrow. Or do you find there's a balance to it, Jonathan, where it's, okay, here's the numbers, but here's also real life. I'm also a dad, and I got to balance it all and make the best decisions along the way?
Yep, that's great question, and I think it would be easy to fall into something like that. I
Yes.
look at technology overall as something that should allow us to be more present. So, in recruiting, and I think we've messaged back and forth about this. I love AI to handle
Yes.
administrative tasks. I love it for shortening the ramp up time for various things, but I use that to allow myself to be more present. I use the same thing here. Like I do live by and care about these stats deeply, but it's also I can be more present. When I have better sleep, I can be more present with my family. So they come first, and thankfully they love sleep as well. And it works out, but I think it could very easily be something where I'm like, hey, we got to go to sleep. We got to change it up here. But
Marty, Jonathan's buying the Aura rings for his family. His little toddler's got one on the finger, and his wife's got one on the finger. They're comparing stats in the morning.
my wife has one for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, that's
She got one like 2 weeks ago, and it's like completely changing her sleep as well.
Is that
that's
right?
amazing, man. I gotta get one. Now I'm getting one.
Yeah, yeah, and we're gonna jump to the See Marty Fit Tip here in a couple moments. Enzo jumps in and says, "I'd be like a 50 since I stay up with these amazing people for a great show. Thanks, Enzo. We appreciate you. We'll ship you an Aura ring too, and we'll program it so it's always an 80, so you get up always happy with us." But Jonathan, do you wear an Aura ring? Do you wear a Whoop band? And do you wear an Apple Watch? Or I'm asking you because if one's wearing all three or even two out of the three, do they confuse? Do they contradict? Are they all delivering the same data? Or talk to me about that, Jonathan. Where are you at with your data analysis on your body?
Just the Aura ring. I've got
Okay.
an Apple Watch up here, and I'm hoping you can see how dusty it is.
Oh yeah.
It's just dusty.
What moved you from the watch to the ring?
So overall, just how comprehensive the Aura ring is. So I've got some friends who, being an athlete is their career. They said, hey, this is what I'm using. Like for real, this is the best investment I've ever made into my health because I can see this stuff in real time.
Wow.
Pointed to a bunch of studies, and I was like, all right, well, you guys get paid to do this. I'm gonna trust what you said. Oh, my lights just went out there.
That's awesome. We're just seeing real-time light changes in Jonathan.
Can I get a gong? Can I get an Undertaker bell there?
I
don't know what happened.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah, Lauren's right. Yeah, we need to get on the ring business. I very much have been intrigued by the rings. Obviously, we wear our Apple Watches, and I haven't gone out past that garden, but the Aura ring is certainly intriguing to me. Rumor has it Samsung's got a ring coming out, and Apple has a ring coming out here in the next 12 months or so.
Of course.
To keep you into that ecosystem. But I love to hear your passion, Jonathan, about your Aura ring. While you're figuring out your lights, let's move to the See Marty Fit Tip here. Jimmy, producer Jimmy, let's get the See Marty Fit Tip of the day here. Let's do this here. Let's go. Boom.
All right, let's get to the fitness tip for today. Rest is not a luxury. It's a necessity for reaching your goals. Let's talk about it. All those hours in the gym and eating right are only part of the equation. If you want real success on your fitness journey, you need proper sleep. Here's why. Muscle recovery. During your sleep, your body repairs and builds muscle tissues. This recovery time is essential for muscle growth and strength gains. So remember, when you're in the gym, especially when you're lifting weights, we're tearing that muscle tissue down. If you're not sleeping, there's no way for it to repair and for your body to change and for you to hit those fitness goals. Hormone regulation. Sleep helps to regulate hunger and stress, reduce cortisol levels. Proper sleep also boosts the release of your growth hormones, aiding in fat loss and muscle building. sleep is essential. Energy levels. Quality sleep ensures you have energy and focus. How do you think you're going to perform the next day at work? How do you think you're going to perform in the gym if you're not getting sleep? No wonder your energy is trash. These are important for intense workouts and daily activities. Bottom line, prioritize your sleep just as you would your workouts and nutrition. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night to optimize your fitness journey. Remember, rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity for reaching your goals. And that's the fitness tip for the day.
Coming to you from the Business Athlete Performance Hub. Mornings in the Lab with Keith, C. Marty Fit, and joining us today, Jonathan Whipple from Los Angeles. Hey, Jonathan, how many hours of sleep do you average per night when you do get your sleep?
So I actually just checked it this morning. 7:33. 7 hours and 33 minutes is my average.
That's good.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. You know, we don't talk. Society does not talk enough about sleep, do we? You know, and is it because, gentlemen? Is it because we're so scared of FOMO, which is, if I'm sleeping, I'm going to miss out on a bunch of things? When, we know the first thing we all do when we wake up, we turn social media on. We open up our phones. Or in Jonathan's case, he opens up his app. But is FOMO driving us to not sleep enough, Jonathan, Marty?
It could be that, and a little bit of hustle culture. I'm grinding, no sleep. We got to get the bag. We got to get to the money. We got to get to the
badge of honor.
That can play a role too. Yep.
Yeah. Jonathan, was there a moment in your life? Was there a pivotal moment in your life? Was there a dark time in your life where you're like, I got to get my sleep under control? I know you said you talked with your friends and they're like, hey, get an Oura ring, these athletes. But was there a moment when you're like, I need to do something about this? Put my watch down, I'm buying a ring, and I'm taking care of myself. What was the moment, Jonathan?
So it's not a dark moment. It was a beautiful moment, and we had a baby. And so, before you have your first child, everybody's like, hey, make sure you get as much sleep as you can. Sleep now, like all of these tried and true, like pieces of advice. And I didn't. And then I didn't sleep well because I had a baby, right? And you kind of go through that period of like, I'm sleeping for 3 hours here, I'm sleeping for 2 hours here, I'm sleeping while the baby's napping. Like you're kind of becoming a different, you're not entirely human. You're like running on fumes. Like, who am I? And I came out the other side of that. Our child was trained it has not trained, but he has a sleep schedule, right? He's like, okay, cool. I've got naps and it's during these regular times. And I was like, okay, I'm not sleeping well now that I have the opportunity to sleep more. What do I need to do? So first thing I did is I ended up getting this ring and then going, what can I do? What little tweaks can I make to get that score up? The same way I would play a video game or the same way I would work at my own craft and playing social sports. How do I get better at this and improve that score to get the positive outcome?
Yeah. So you use it to gamify your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exceptional. And it's working for you.
Majorly. I tell everybody about it. And so far only my wife's listening, despite me using this for a year. I'm like, come on.
Well, you've just given me an idea. Marty and I were talking business yesterday, and Marty, I think we might know who our first title sponsor for the show should be.
Let's do it.
Like, honest to God, we do a morning show. Sleep is one of the most important things for humans. And if you and I are waking up with an Oura ring, it becomes a key part of our show. So, Oura, you're going to get this video clip sometime today or next week from Keith and C. Marty, because you need to sponsor our show, the biggest business fitness related morning show on the planet. And sleep is the most important thing to get humans going every single day. So, Oura, we're going to come knock on your door. You got to be a sponsor for the show. That's exactly right. Gents, we are wrapping up our hour here. Holy smokes, it's gone real fast. We talked about storytelling and leadership. We finished our conversation today around how sleep's the ultimate morning routine for a healthy and fit life. I've really taken a lot of the last 15 minutes, Jonathan. I've talked with people at Oura Rings before, but I don't know if I really kind of digested it as much as I have with you here today. You talking about how it's had that impact with your life, with your kids, and to hear you say that, I wake up and I look, if the number's low, I go back to sleep. I've never really had anybody tell me that in that really distinct way that, no, that's exactly what I do. I'm like, oh, like that's the right thing to do.
It should be their whole marketing campaign, man. Like, yes, it is. It is a powerful tool, and it improves your life. So I'm glad that it is something that stuck out for you, and I hope you get one. And I'm curious to hear what your journey is with it.
Absolutely. As we're wrapping up here, Enzo comes in. I'm bloody cracking up. Can't keep it together with my sleep schedule. Yes. Well, Enzo, we actually don't want you going to sleep because we need viewers on the show. So Enzo, keep tuning
Selfish,
in.
Man.
Yeah. Tell all your friends in New Zealand to keep tuning in with us and keep tuning into the show. But hey, listen, before we say goodbye, Marty, throwing over to you, Mr. Whipple. Final words, final comments on today's show. What do you got going on for today? Any plug for SAP? Any plug for the recruiting stuff you going on? But Jonathan, final word over to you today, my friend, before I throw it over to Marty.
Make content. Like, I know that's kind of a pivot here, but that is the thing that I am passionate about in my own career. This is how you tell your story. Make content, tell your story, share who you are, get out there, get in front of people, meet people like C. Marty Fitt and Keith. Like, do it. Get on shows like this. Have fun. Enjoy the journey of being yourself and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Make content. You are a great content creator. I really noticed your content on LinkedIn. You're all in on video. Talk quickly about video. We are seeing video do this on LinkedIn platform. Talk about how you're having an impact with video, Jonathan.
Man, it's something that's been on my radar for a long time and only just started. So it's been about 3 weeks of making video, and I mean, it's just the best way to show who you are. You can say who you are with text-based posts. You can say that with images, but it's not the same as you speaking directly to a camera and letting folks know who you are. That's the difference. It's really connecting one-to-one directly through that camera.
Yeah, I agree. The power of video. And yes, Enzo, we are also wondering where Sarvina is after 2 shows. Sarvina, where are you, man? We're just wondering where you are, and the future's wondering where you are as well. And John and Enzo, you are awesome, man. You're keeping us on track here. Jonathan, Enzo wants to know, where can we find you, and where can Enzo find Jonathan Whipple?
Yeah, I'm very easy to find. I'm Jonathan Whipple on everything. Just my first and last name. Every social. I'm only active on LinkedIn. Just full heads up. So if you really want to dive into what my life was like 4 or 5 years ago, find me on Instagram. Great place to find that.
That's exceptional. And one last thing from me before I send it to Marty. And I think I'm going to have you back for a second round on this. So you were in the TV business for a while. Would you hire Keith and C. Marty for a show?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yes. That's what we were hoping you would say. Because if you didn't answer that way, I just would have cut you off right away.
There we go.
That's exactly it. All right. So listen, we're going to get out of here for the day. Keith, C. Marty Fitt, we're out of here. Marty, what's going on today, pal? What do you got? Final word to you, buddy.
Work and work out. And I'm going to try the stretch routine before I go to sleep, too. I used to do that, and I slacked. I fell off. So thank you for the reminder, Jonathan.
My pleasure.
Very good. A good stretch routine for Jonathan. Going to get Marty doing that. Jonathan did a good job reminding us today the value of sleep. Get your sleep in. If you're curious about the stats behind sleep, you might want to consider the Oura Ring. You wake up, look at your score, and hey, it might say go back to sleep. All right, nation, we're going to get out of here. Keith, C. Marty Fitt, we're back tomorrow. We are back tomorrow in the lab, and I think we're back tomorrow with Mejo Pacheco. We're talking, one last thing, nation. Got to call this one out, man. One of the other reasons I called Whipple on the show, the dude's got one of the best flows on LinkedIn. He has one of the best. There's no question about it. He's got flow like Bilous. He's got flow like Marty. Marty's got the flow coming out, man. So we are all about flows here in the lab. So if you're looking for great flows, you come join the lab. Bring your flow to the lab. We're going to have some fun with you. Jonathan, thanks for joining me today, my friend. Hang tight in the green room. Marty, awesome, buddy. We'll talk to you throughout the day. Enzo, you are awesome, my friend. Thank you for joining us as always. Lauren, thanks for jumping in, my dear. Sarvina, where are you? We were wondering where you are. And of course, everybody listening to the vertical streams here. Yes, we are going to get Jonathan Whipple to join the challenge on the Flow Challenge. We're going to get him to keep his hair growing long and see what happens here. So we're going to get out of here, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? Cheers.